So, a buddy of mine hit me up and told me I should do a TED Talk. A friend of mine, Daniel, hit me up and said, man, you should do a TED Talk. And my first thought was, the hell would I talk about? What do I have to say that would be interesting enough that anybody would want to listen to it? And I couldn't think of anything. I mean, here's the thing. TED Talks are full of people that have these intriguing and interesting stories. They have these fascinating lives where they've done incredible things. You got like Tony Robbins, who's inspired millions of people around the world to do great things with their lives. There was one I saw with Eric Bischoff where he talked about how the news media is stealing, things out of the playbook from wrestling's history in the Monday Night Wars. I was watching these different TED Talks. These people have like these incredible stories. I don't have an incredible story. I have a very basic story. It's a very boring story. And I started thinking about that. I was like, what? There's nothing exceptional about my life. I'm not a guy who cured cancer. I'm not a guy who's made people's lives better. Like, I'm a guy who makes vlogs and maybe makes your life better. I don't know. But, I am one of 7 billion people who exist on the planet. One of countless people who came before me and one of countless people who will come after me. There's nothing exceptional here. I mean, okay, so wind the clock back. For instance, wind the clock back. I mean, hell, 6 years, 5 years, even. The life of Rob Jefferson is a life that's mired in mediocrity. My life mantra was just good enough. The grades I got in school, just good enough. How I treated friends, just good enough. The job that I did, the performance of the job that I worked at for 10 years at UK, just good enough. That's all it ever was just good enough. Doing just enough to get by. My dad used to harp on me about that for so long. You have such incredible potential, you have amazing potential. I don't know why you don't use your potential, and I hear that from teachers, from guidance counselors, people all over school, everywhere in my life. It was everybody that I talked to. You're just not reaching your full potential. Because I was lazy, if I'm being honest. I was lazy as hell. I mean, if I'm going to sit in this video and tell you guys the truth, it's because I was just lazy. It was easier to not work hard. Because, after a while, yes, I would have to listen to them complain, but then after a while, they would stop complaining. And then as they stopped complaining, I wouldn't have to listen to them anymore, so, it would fix itself as far as I was concerned. I mean, for me, I was more interested in having fun and going and living life, doing things that made me happy. That was my main focus. My teenage years, it was the exact same way. I just wanted to go just enjoy life and be happy, which is not unreasonable. Now, I'm 21 years old. I've got an opportunity to work at the University of Kentucky, physical plant Delta room, full-time job. And I start that job having no idea the sacrifice it'll ask me to make. That job will ask me to make the choice between being an adult and being a kid. At that point in time in my life, I was full on into Laser Quest, right? Live action laser tag at its best. That was the mantra that they had. Technically it wasn't, but it was still a pretty enjoyable Laser Quest, enjoyable laser tag experience. We went to tournaments all over the country. We went to Wichita, Kansas, and Las Vegas, and various centers in Chicago and around Detroit. And even went up to Danvers, Maine. We went to Virginia Beach, went to Sunrise, Florida, Gwinnett, Georgia. And we went to all these different places, to play. And we got really, really good at it. The problem was when the time came to play regionals, which is what we played in order to advance out of the region and then go to nationals, I couldn't go because I had to work. I had to make that choice. And it was a hard choice. In hindsight, it's not much of a choice at all, but at the time, it was the biggest choice in the world. And I chose to stay and work. Sometimes I think the people that I played with still didn't forgive me for that. They never really forgave me for making that choice. But it's a choice that I had to make. Be a kid or be an adult. And I was angry about it. God, I was so pissed. I was so mad. I didn't want to grow up. Like the Lost Boys in Neverland. I wanted to stay a kid forever. Just have fun. The pirates, those are the mean, evil adults. Those are the people who grew up. The issue with that is my refusal to grow up was reflected in how I did my job and how I lived my life. The fact that I became so angry and bitter. Because I was looking around me. I was making this choice to be an adult. And I was looking around me and I was seeing people who were going out and having fun and partying and all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't. I was working. You talk to any of the friends that I have. You talk to Paulus, you talk to Yates, you talk to Sloan, Agia, Dan, Beth, Ryan, Heather. Any of the friends that I have back home. Raj, even Daniel. when he lived back in Lexington. Katie, she lives in Brazil. I haven't talked to her in years. But, you know, you talk to any of those people, and you say, anytime you hit up Rob in your mid-20s and asked him if he wanted to go to a bar, what was his answer? Their answer would be, Rob would say he was working. Rob was always working. Working, all the time. That's what I had to do. The problem was that I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know where it was leading to, if anywhere at all. I didn't feel like it was leading anywhere. I felt like I was just working in a job, and I would be doing what I was doing at that point in time until I retired from that job. So I had, 30-something years until I could leave? Yeah, I felt like a gerbil in a hamster wheel, a dog chasing his tail. And there's no worse feeling than that, because you feel like you're in the passenger seat of your own life. You make enough money to make it, to do well, to pay your bills and all that kind of stuff, and a little bit on the side, but not enough to actually enjoy life. You live to work. And it sucked. Eventually the job got to the point where I made enough that wasn't an issue. By the time I left, I was making 17 and some change an hour, but, you know, still. Yeah, I felt like I was in a hamster wheel. So eventually I get tired of it, you know. By this point, Mom's died. And so, following her death, I had this sort of existential crisis. Who the hell is Rob Jefferson? Where am I going in this world that I'm living in? Who is Rob Jefferson? Who am I? And I remember taking 2 weeks off of work because I knew coming out of the death of Mom, it gave me an appreciation for how short life was, right? Mom was perfectly healthy until she wasn't, until she had cancer, and then she died. And so then it was like, okay, life's too short to be miserable. Life's too short to be upset. And I tried to launch a YouTube channel previously on Call of Duty. I remember going out and getting a Hop Hog HD PVR back when those were all the rage. These $200 clunky ass boxes, these like they were like set-top boxes, and you plug, cables into them, and then you run them into your TV, and then so on and so forth. And it was a pain in the ass. But I remember using one of those, trying to record gameplay, and it never really went anywhere. I remember taking 2 weeks off work. And in reality, I never really had any intention of becoming a YouTuber. That was never my intention. Comics Explained was a grand experiment. That's all that was. And even then, it wasn't really an experiment so much as just a thing that I was interested in doing to see where it went. My passion, the one thing I've always wanted to do, is become a history teacher. Like a high school history teacher. That's what I've always wanted to do. Teach U.S. history, world history to kids in high school. Teach them the significance of learning from your past. Hey guys, why is it stupid that you're burning books? Why is it, as Generation Z or millennials, why is it stupid that you're burning books? Well, because that's what the Germans did. They burned the books of opposing ideas. So goose step yourself on into a German society. That's what you think is a grand idea. But still, I want to be a history teacher. So I took 2 weeks off work, and launched Comics Explained. Started the channel with Jason Wingard, a mutant that has the ability to manipulate the 5 senses. And I remember uploading that video, creating the channel, uploading the video. And I went to a buddy of mine, Sean, asked him to review it. He said, hey, you know what you should do? And I was like, what? He's like, you should add like dynamic comic book panels so people can see what you're talking about when you're referencing like the old stories, explaining these characters. So I said, okay, cool. So we did that. And I remember uploading a couple of videos, like there were 1 or 2 more videos. And then there was a video on the Scarlet Witch, I think it was. And that was around the time that it had been announced that Scarlet Witch was going to be part of Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. And of course, Avengers was like the highest selling comic book movie ever. And so like when Avengers 2 was announced, like everybody was looking it up. And then it was like, who's Scarlet Witch? Well, then people are looking up who Scarlet Witch is, and there's my video, 20-minute long video explaining Scarlet Witch's publication history of Marvel Comics, turning people into an expert. The damn thing exploded. Oh, it blew up. Got me into the algorithm, and the rest is history. But it was a crapshoot. There was no grand scheme there. There was no grand plan. There was no, this is how we're going to navigate the waters and figure it all out, and here's this huge plan. I didn't have an army of people figuring out how YouTube works in order to upload a video and see if it performs. No, it was just me sitting in an apartment with a Blue Yeti microphone, trying to figure out how to navigate the waters of audio correction and compression and equalization, all that kind of stuff, and how to make video. And I was literally flying by the seat of my pants. I had no idea what I was doing. It was a shot in the dark. That's all it was. I was roaming through a pitch black hallway with a blindfold on and no sense of touch. I had no conceivable idea where I was going or what I was doing. But that's kind of the benefit. That's kind of the crazy thing about it all, though, is looking back in hindsight. It was just a risk. It was a shot in the dark that turned out to be the best decision that I ever made. It was a leap of faith. I mean, nothing would have gone wrong. I mean, my life would not have been over had I failed. It's not like my life was on the line. My livelihood was on the line. You know, it's not like, you know, I stood to lose everything if YouTube didn't take off. But once it became, like, once that video started performing, and then other videos after it started performing, and then once I went through like the whole Civil War event, that was my out. That was my way out of this life that I was so unhappy with. The people at the job at UK, I loved. The job itself, I did not. And this was my way out. It was my one shot at freedom, and I took it. Even now, I'll go back there, and they'll introduce me to somebody and say, "Yeah, this is Rob. This is the guy who made it out." You know? But I mean, at the end of the day, that really is all it is. Everything, you know, this life that we live, it's a leap of faith. You know, do you have the courage to take it? It's so easy for us to stay where we are because we're familiar with it, right? We're familiar with this place that we are in our lives. I was so familiar with that job. I was used to it. By that point, I was like, you know, Brooks from the Shawshank Redemption. The guy gets out of prison, and the world, like, the world's totally different. Just starkly different. Now, he ended up hanging himself. I'm not going to hang myself, but you guys understand what I'm saying. That there comes a point when we become institutionalized in whatever facet of our life we happen to be in. We're institutionalized in, you know, the job that we work at. We're institutionalized with the friends that we have. We're institutionalized in our existing ecosystem that we may have spent years building. And to walk away from that is scary as hell. It's terrifying because, you know, it's once more into the breach, dear friends. It's into the unknown. It's into the pitch black darkness with no clue what awaits you on the other side. And it can be scary as hell. But sometimes it can be the best decision we ever make. I don't know. I mean, that's, you know, nonetheless, yeah, it doesn't really come from a place of a lack of confidence, guys. It's just a matter of where I reside. But I look at my life up to this point, you know, and I say, okay, so like the one great thing I did was launch Comics Explained. You know, the one great thing that I've achieved over the course of my life. That's cool. But I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of a weird situation. But you know, I couldn't do a TED Talk, guys. It's not fascinating. Like, my life's not fascinating. You know, my life's not intriguing. It's not inspiring. It doesn't, you know, drive people to do great things. People are just like, yeah, man, there's a guy who talks about comic books on YouTube. Cool story, bro. And then they they go and do their thing, you know. So I don't know. It's just kind of a weird situation. Hopefully this wind's not too bothersome. I guess I have to check it in post. But anyway, guys, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You know, I'm sure a lot of you guys will be like, Rob, you should definitely do a TED Talk. But I wouldn't. I mean, there's nothing interesting about me to talk about. But anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and bring this video to an end. And I will catch you all later. Peace.